Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games back with another cool pinball repair video for you this evening. If you haven't been watching, we've done like 50 videos on this Bally Freedom pinball machine that we've been working on. And we are finally down. We've got it up and running. Everything's cool. But the backglass has issues. So we're going to work on the backglass on this video. You're here just in time. Just in time to see the backglass come along. So we are working on this for a customer who has owned this since 1980. The thing came out in 1976. It's been in home use for since 1980. If you're keeping track, that's 41 years it's been in somebody's house. This thing was made in 76 at the Centennial, the Bicentennial, I mean. And it came out in July of 76. And then it was sold in 1980 into somebody's house. So it's in pretty good shape, and we fixed it up, made it in even better shape, but the backglass, unfortunately, has started to flake over the years. So we're going to try to fix that up a little bit in this video. So I'm going to show you what it looks like now, and then we're going to take it out and work on it a little bit, and then put it back, and at the end of the video, we'll see how it looks then, right? So let's get a good shot from the front here. That is it. Okay, so it's a great backglass, got a really cool art on it, but unfortunately, like often happens, parts of it have flaked away. Now, I didn't ask the customer, but I'll bet this thing has spent some time in like a storage shed or something. It was in pretty good shape, but the reason usually that the paint starts flaking off like this is because of extreme temperatures. So it'll go, you know, if it's in some place where it gets really cold. I guess heat would do it too. A lot of people say, oh, well, it's the heat from the lights. No, it's not. The heat from the lights isn't great, but typically this kind of, you'll see that it'll do it in certain colors and then not in other colors, right? So if it was the light bulbs, his whole jacket would be messed up too. It's all lit by the same light bulbs, right? But you get spots that are and spots that aren't. So I don't know. Maybe the lights don't help it. But in general, it's because the things get cold and hot, and the glass contracts and expands at a different speed than the paint. So the paint starts cracking as it's basically making relief expansion joints, you know, as the glass is moving, and the paint can't move as quick or at all. And it puts little micro cracks in all of the paint, and then eventually all that stuff peels off the glass and flakes away. And so that's what we've got going on here. So mainly it's the brown in his pants and the brown in the drum. That particular color brown really messed up. So everywhere that is pretty much screwed up. But there's also a gold that most of that's still intact. There's a red, most of that's still intact. There is a blue, most of that's still intact with a little bit of an exception. There's a couple different teals. There is a little bit of his jacket is starting to mess up there. There's a silk screened white. The pants are actually a different color brown. There's the burgundy. That is the back color. Actually, that may be the same as... No, it's two different colors. So there's a burgundy and a red. So whenever they did these, they would, you know, there's multiple colors going on. But most of it's cool with the exception of the brown and a little bit of the blues. So that's where we're starting. This young lad over here has came through it fairly well. All right, so first thing we're going to do, we're going to pop it out, and then we're going to look at the back of it, which will look a lot worse. So one thing we're going to do, see how these are 44s? We're going to replace those with 47s. So 47s use like 40% less power and give off 40% less heat. So that'll help with it a little bit if you are concerned about the heat. In a home situation, you know, this thing's going to be turned on probably a couple hours a month. I'm not that worried about it. But that'll help. You could go with LEDs if you want. I just don't like how they look. Okay, so let me darken this up so that you can see the back glass a little bit better. That's about how it looks here. Okay, so you've got the parts like this are the part that light is supposed to shine through. The part that's silver like this, light doesn't shine through at all. It reflects it back. So you can see all of this up here is in great shape. This is a little dirty, but that's no big deal. All of that is just fine. Okay. And then down at the bottom, you've got a few little issues, but nothing major. Okay. And then on this guy we were talking about, the kid, over on this side, a couple spots are starting to flake away. All right. And then on this guy, the top half of them's pretty good. That's actually the other guy's arm. But the drum is a problem. Okay. And then this guy, you can see he's got he's got leprosy. It's starting to get in him pretty bad. So that's the pants that were messed up. There's the jacket. And then that's his other arm. So I guess it doesn't look worse than the front does, but needs some hip, okay? So what we're going to do to fix this is we're going to use triple thick. Now, if you, I'll show you what it is here in a second, but if you want to buy some of this stuff, you can get it at Michael's, you can get it at Hobby Lobby, stuff like that. We have a new page on our website, lionsarcade.com. If you go to that website, it shows our games that we have for sale, stuff like that. But we also have a parts page now up at the top, and we have links to all of the stuff that we use in our videos, some of the stuff we use, where you can buy it online if you want, mainly off Amazon. And so if you go to lionsarcade.com, click on parts up at the top, you can see a link to the triple thick that we use that Krylon makes. It's called triple thick because it's 3 times thicker than regular paint. It's probably, I don't know if that's an exact number, it might be 5 times thicker, but it's really thick, clear paint. And what it's usually used for is for potters. So it's like pottery glaze, basically. But it's in a spray paint can. So it works really well on back glasses, where if you've got little pieces of paint flaking off, you can very carefully mist and then spray the entire back glass with this triple thick, and it puts a layer of clear paint on the back glass, and all of those little chips get caught in that crap, and they don't flake off anymore because they're stuck in the triple thick. So you're putting clear coat between the chips and the front of the glass to kind of almost use it like a glue, right? And once you do that, you don't have to worry about it continuing to flake off like that. So that's what we're going to do first, but we also have to clean it. I'm just going to lightly clean it with a wet rag, wet paper towel. But I'm not going to get anywhere near that loose paint, because if you touch that, if you breathe on that, it'll come off. So we're going to try to save as much of it as we can. Even the spray paint will knock it off. So you got to very carefully even use the spray paint on it. But check that. You can find a link to that on our website, lionsarcade.com. Look at the parts link at the top. It shows a bunch of the stuff that we use in our videos, and also our t-shirts and hoodies and coffee mugs and stuff like that, if you're interested in any of that with our logo on it and stuff. So go check that out. So I'm going to pull this out, I'm going to clean it off, and then we'll put it in the back room, and I'll get the triple thick and show you how we do it. We're shaking it. Shake the heck out of it. So we're literally going to spray over the whole back glass, especially the spots that light can shine through, just because the paint's thinner there. Okay. Now, some people tape off all the little windows. I don't do that. One, it's really hard to do. Two, if you spray this crap on good enough, it's crystal clear. Says it right there. Triple thick crystal clear glaze. Well, if it's crystal clear, you know, you're going to be able to see the letters, the numbers through it. I did clean them, though, because this is the last shot. Once you paint that on there, any dirt that's on there stays on there. You might say, oh, but around here I can still see some dirt. Look, I can't get it perfect, because if I scrub on that paint, it's going to come off. here we go. All right, we're going to wait on this for a second. I'll just show you up here on the easier part. Right? You don't want to go too heavy with it at first. One reason is you don't want to make it impossible to breathe. Right? So that's what you want to do. Now let's see if any of this blows off when I hit it. I'm going to start from way back here. You're literally trying to glue the crap down a little bit. You can use saran wrap to get it down flat as well if you want. I've done that on previous videos. If it's not sticking up too far, some of that looks a little bit too far. If it's not sticking up too far, you can just paint it and it'll hold it. But if it's stuff that's sticking up, if it doesn't get down flat in the crystal, the triple thick, some of that will still flake off. So now another thing you got to think about, see how the light hits that window? Well, you're going to see that transition if you let it dry like that. So what you want to do when you do this is the last thing you want to paint is the windows so that they're nice and wet and even. So I'll show you what I mean. So like, if I do something like that, see how these look clear and these look kind of dusty? So you want to keep a wet edge. Bam. Now they're all going to be the same and they're all going to dry the same. And you might paint some more and then get a little more overspray on it where it looks dusted, you know. If you do, you just want to go back and paint them again. But basically you want the last thing you paint to be those windows. Alright, so I'm going to put the camera down so I don't get paint all over it. Okay, so I painted it all, and the places where it was sticking up higher, I put saran wrap on it so that you can then push the little pieces down. And then what I do is, you know, we have a video game store, so you got to put something on it to kind of hold the paint down. So I use some old Nintendo games. Right now, people have said in the comments many times that you could do this with something like sheets of flat, like overhead projector material. What's that crap called? Something flat. And you probably could. I've just never done it. But the issue is when you put the saran wrap on it, you get all these little wrinkles in the saran wrap. So whenever I finish this up and pull this off, it's going to have little wrinkles in the paint. But it's clear. So to me, it's never really mattered. And it's on the back, right? So I'm not too concerned about it. But that would probably work. I just don't have anything like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to let this dry overnight, maybe 24 hours. And then if we do that, we can take this and take the weights off and then carefully peel the saran wrap off. You'll know when it's dry when the saran wrap will just easily come off. I mean, it's like wiping dust off something. If it won't come off that easy, it's not dry. Let it sit another day or whatever. So that's our next thing. So I'm going to go home for the night. Tomorrow evening I'll try to take that off. And if it will come off, then our paint will be stuck down as good as possible and we can start trying to touch some of it up. Okay, so about 3 days have passed. You don't have to leave it that long, but I had some other stuff I was doing, but we're now getting back on it. So I've been leaving it sit with these Nintendo games on it. Right? So let's see if our saran wrap comes off. I don't know which ones are on top of what. You can see the kind of textured appearance that it leaves on it because of the wrinkled saran wrap. But it's now all stuck down on there where we don't have to worry about it continuously peeling off. And it's not just that part, it's all of it. You saw I painted all of it. So like that area there will not get any worse because it's been painted. So now that it's all one piece and can't flake anymore, we can start repainting the parts that are screwed up. So I'll go grab the paint that we use and show you what we're going to mess with, and see if we can make it look any better than it looks. Alright folks, so we have this whole box of acrylic paint that I bought. You can get this stuff at Michael's, Hobby Lobby, Amazon, eBay, it's all over the place, okay? So I've got a bunch of different colors, tons of it. Just for this. This is the only thing I use it on, really. Playfields and backglasses. You often can't get an exact match of the color that you've got that has problems. So it would be really nice if you just could go buy, oh, okay, I need the brown for his drum. There it is, bam, and you put it on and it's an exact match. Doesn't work like that. So a lot of times you have to mix it. So we'll probably do that here later. But basically the main problem that you run into is if it's this part where light doesn't shine through it, the gray makes it reflect. See, there's a big chip right there. You can paint that back and it looks fine because when it's lit up, it doesn't illuminate it. But it illuminates this guy's pantaloons, right? So when the light shines through the part that has been repainted versus the part that's original, it'll look completely different. And there's really no way around that. You could airbrush it, which you might get a little bit better effect, but the problem that you run into is that since the stuff is right next to each other, the chip that has no paint will be thinner than the part next to it that you put paint on. Now that paint's thicker, so it'll never illuminate the same because the paint's twice as thick on one part, and there's really no way around that. You can't paint in just the little pieces that are missing, you know. So you can't really get a perfect result from this, but it will at least make it look better. So you have to think about how far do you want to go. Remember, you're already dealing with something that's damaged, you know. And I'm not a world-class conservator by any means on art, you know what I mean? So, I mean, if we got somebody who really knew their stuff, maybe they could do it, but I don't believe it's possible with the way we're going to do it. But we are going to make it look a lot better. So you have to go into it with the thought, look, I'm not going to make it perfect. I just got to make it look a little better. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to ink back in any of the lines that are missing, because the black was kind of the first thing silk screened on it. So like if you want a black line somewhere, it needs to be the closest to the glass so that you'll see it. You understand what I mean? So since the black is on top of it, it has to be the first thing put on because you're looking at it from this side. Luckily on this particular glass, there are no black areas that are really messed up. So all of the black lines are still intact. Our main problem is the brown here on his pants, which is the same brown as on the drum. That is our main problem, is all that brown. And then there's a little bit of minor things like this blue here, which is the same. Well, maybe not the same, but there's also a blue on his arm there. That aqua there is a little thin, but I think we can probably get away with it. So we're looking at mainly the blue, a little bit of the blue on his arm, that blue there, so that's maybe 3 colors, and then we're probably going to call it done, because we don't want to get too cray-cray. I might do a little bit of red up there just to try to hide those holes, because it's easy to, since that doesn't light up, it's easy to do. Some of it, like this spot right here, so you can see through that just barely. Look, I'm not going to worry about that, right? If it's minor, don't mess with it, because the part you paint will show up, will show out more than if you just left it alone. So you don't want to try to get every little thing of it. And the main thing is whenever you look at this, you're looking at, you got to think about, you know, you're looking at their faces, you're kind of looking at their posture. They've kind of got their shoulders back and their chest out. That's kind of what your eye's drawn to, is the, you know, the top half of these guys. And then you're trying to say, oh, wait a minute, are those famous people? Is that Abraham Lincoln? You know, and so you're going to notice every little thing that you touch up because it's your machine. But people that come over to your house and check it out or whatever, they're not going to see all of this. You know, they're not going to notice if I get that color somewhat similar on his pants. They're not going to notice that that looks a little weird, that maybe somebody painted some of that back, because they're going to be saying, which president is that? Right? And by the way, these aren't necessarily presidents. It's just art. Okay, so I think maybe we'll do this blue here first, since it's minor, and it'll kind of show the process a little bit. And then we can go from there. So that's a really bright blue. It's almost like a aquamarine. So I got to figure out how to make a really bright blue. Hopefully I've got something pretty close to it just out of the bottle. So let me see what I got. Okay, so I've carefully set it up on the box. Once you clear it, you know, the paint's all protected on the back. But if you've got areas that are flaking, and I've got that paint on there that's not completely flat and all that, you still don't want to, like, abrase it, you know what I mean? You don't want to rub it against something, because it still might chip it off. So we're trying not to do that. So be careful whenever you do lay it on its back. Okay, so I got out a bunch of blues. So this really bright blue, one of the cool things is there's really only a few colors on stuff that's silkscreen, because they have to run a separate color, a separate screen for every color, right? So they don't do a ton of them. Usually. Sometimes, like on that flip-flop we did, there's like 20 freaking colors. But this one, there's not quite that many. So, even if there's problems all over the place, you only have to do a few colors. And it also means that there's areas that are all the same color. So like this is the same color as some of the highlights on his jacket, as his vest, as the boy's shirt, or whatever, whatever that is. So we're having a problem right here on his sleeve, which is fairly minor. If that was all that was going on the back glass, I'd just leave it. But since we're working on the other stuff, I might as well try to touch it up. And then there's one little nick over here that's no big deal. Looks like there might be one up there as well. And it's the same color as the top half of where it says freedom. So it's all the same color, so you can match any of it, and it doesn't appear to have faded unevenly. Sometimes you'll have one where it was originally the same color, but over here it's darker and over here it's lighter because of the sun fading it or whatever. So I pulled out a bunch of blues. We're going to see if any of them even come close to matching it. So this is true blue, and this is where you got to kind of just have a good eye for this stuff. Now, it usually dries a little bit darker than how it is when it's wet. Plus, we're looking at it through the bottle, if you're looking at it like this. But you still kind of get an idea of the sheen of it. I mean, not the sheen, the hue of it. So this one, the camera's not... Let me see if I can brighten it up just a little bit. The camera's not showing you kind of how vivid that blue is. Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's a really bright, the blue on the back glass is a really bright blue. And this is more of kind of like a dull color. It's a little more faded looking. So even though they're calling it true blue, and I'm sure it is a true blue, it's not a real vivid blue. So this one's, it's close, but it's off a little bit. Okay, and then I have this one. So this is this blue, cerulean blue. I'm sure a beautiful color, but it's nothing like what we're trying to do. Okay, so we need something brighter. So this is neon blue. It's not anywhere near the bright hue, and it's way too bright, so that ain't very helpful. Okay, and then we have some purples, because blue's close to purple. and they're nothing like it. And then we have this one, ultramarine blue, which kind of is a purple a little bit. It's a little bit too purple. But if you look, it's nice and bright. And buddy, that might be it. Okay, so it looks pretty good, but it might be a little bit too purple. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to take a little bit of it and paint it on the front of the glass and let it dry and just see how it looks when it dries. You don't have to go through all that trouble, but I'm just showing you techniques you can use. So we'll put a little bit on the front, let it dry, and then see how it compares actual paint versus the paint on it. So I painted a little dab on the front, and it dries a little bit darker than the stuff that's on there, but it had the same kind of hue, so I just went ahead and did it. So there were just a few spots. You see it, right? I mean, you see the spot, right? You see the plates that I repainted, right? You can see, right? See how it's a little bit darker, but because of what it is, it just looks like it's a fold in a shirt or something. So that's what you're trying to do. You're just trying to camouflage whatever you can. And typically, if you go a little bit too dark, that's better than going too light. If you go too light, for whatever reason, it stands out more. So, yeah, simple as that. So, that's the blue. We've got this little bit darker blue. So I'll do the same thing with that. Just try to match it. Paint it on the back glass. And then the brown. And then that'll be about all that we need to mess with. Well, and that red down there. But basically, since we cleared it, all of this can be wiped off later because we're using acrylic paints. So literally, they could clean this back off of the glass if people thought I didn't do a very good job touching it up. They could just wipe the paint off by getting it wet with water. So very easy to clean up and redo. So if you make a mistake, you don't like the way it looks, if you did the triple thick first, it makes it where it's really easy to redo it. So, okay, so let me do that darker blue right there. And then we'll mess with the brown. Ironically, that brown I pulled out earlier, and I said, yeah, this is right off the shelf. It'd be nice if this matched his pants. It looks like it might, so I don't know. We'll see. But I'll do the blue and come back, and then we'll mess with the brown. Okay, so I put the blue in. It's a pretty good match, as that cerulean blue was pretty good right out of the bottle. So now we're on to his pants, which is the main problem with the whole thing, and also the drum. So I believe that those are the same color, although it's a little bit. So this guy's pants, the drum, and this guy's pants, I believe are the same color. And the reason I think that is because it would be easier to silkscreen than to have two slightly off browns. But it could be that that's lighter than that. I can't really make up my mind. Right? So, this brown is too light. Okay? So, the way I try to do it is I kind of push or pull the color. So since that's too light and I need it to be kind of a more darker brown, I'm putting this in it, which is kind of, it's just a different color brown that's darker. So you kind of just mix it together, which gave me that, right? Which is fairly close. It's a little bit off, but it's good enough. So I'm going to go ahead and paint it in. Now what I'm going to do when I paint it in, I'm basically going to paint the entire section because all of that dark brown is messed up. So I'm just going to repaint all of that. And on the drum, I'm going to paint the entire stripes. Okay? And I'm going to you're going to see the brush strokes when you're done because I'm using a paintbrush. So what I'm going to do is try to do it in a way that complements whatever the art is. So on this, I'm going to do long brush strokes this way so that when you do see it, it looks fine. If you did the brush stroke sideways, it would look kind of weird whenever it shows through. Same thing on his pants. It has these long creases, and over here it has these short creases. So I'm going to kind of complement the curve of what they were trying to paint in. So here, you wouldn't want the brush strokes to go this way. you'd want them to go this way, so it kind of matches the folds of his pants. And on this one, the folds go this way, so you would kind of want it to go that way. So I think I've got a decent color mixed up, and we'll throw it in and see what it looks like. Here's what I came up with. I put it on really thick whenever I do it, because if you put it on thin, you just don't accomplish anything. Since you're shining a light through it, it takes 10 coats, 10 thin coats, so it just takes forever. A better way to do this would probably be to use an airbrush. I just don't have that liberty because I'm doing it literally here in my showroom. But if you wanted to mess around with an airbrush, you could probably get it a little better. You'd have to mask it. One of the benefits of using a paintbrush is you can control exactly where the paint goes. If you use an airbrush, you'd have to put frisking tape on it or something, which would just take a lot more time. I've had people say too that you could get it color matched with apps and things like that. Well, I could, but if I had the color code of the color, it wouldn't help me mix it. Like I'm mixing it by hand. So I guess you could mix it and then see if it matched the color code, but I don't think that'd work too well. Or you could go get paint made, but it just, for me, I've been working on this for an hour tonight. It's not that big of a deal. It just takes a little bit of time if you do it by hand. If you wanted to spend a lot more time and go get paint mixed and all that just for this one glass and all that, yeah, I guess you could get it color matched. But I think we're just going to do it like this. So all of that spot that has been repainted is not going to light up as well as the stuff around it. So you will see that through the glass. So hopefully it'll look better than it did. We'll try it. So the first thing I got to do though is I need to change all the light bulbs on the back box. So let's go look at that. All new bulbs, looking good. Now it just needs the glass slid back in. How do you think it's going to look? All right, here we go. Hopefully this works out pretty good. All right, not bad. I think it came out all right. What do you think? So there's a few areas that are still a little, it's a little thin right there, but we cleared them so they won't get any worse. You see how the couple parts I touched up on his shirt that were completely faded away, or like the color's way off. It just looks different when it's illuminated and when it's not. But so that'll stay like that. And then his pants. So since you know what we did, it's obvious that that's like way off. But if somebody doesn't know, that was all screwed up, and his pants are completely different. Now remember, they were the same color as these pants, but they're a completely different color now. But at first glance, it doesn't look like it's been repainted. So most people checking it out wouldn't see anything out of line with it. So there you go, people. I think it looks a lot better than it did, and I think that the customer will likely be very happy with that. So, and like I said, worst case, they can wipe all the paint off if they want, and the clear coat, is oil based, so it won't come off, or the triple thick. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed it. I think we did pretty good. I can't see light bulbs anymore, so that's good enough for me. So leave your comments down below. Let us know what you think. We're going to do one more video where we play this thing a little bit, go over the rule set and all that. So make sure to give us a thumbs up for taking the trouble to film it for you. Hope you enjoyed it. We'd like to thank everybody that's been using all of our Amazon links. Thank you for that. I think we talked about that earlier, but there are links down below. You can go to Amazon. If you're going to buy something on Amazon, if you click our link before you go, it gives us a tip. So we appreciate y'all doing that. A lot of people have been doing that lately. And make sure to check out my brother's channel. My brother, Donnie, who is literally my brother. He and I, if you like watching us work on these old pinball machines, he and I bought an old building in a little town near here and have been fixing it up and renting, trying to get it ready to rent out. So go check that out. It's called My Brother Donnie. The link is down below. He's crazier than I am, so you might enjoy his banter. So I hope you enjoyed it. Leave your comments below, and we will see you on the next video. This is Bally's Freedom.